Hey, it is Friday, June 27th, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. I am Brandon Blee. So, this is Success Never Sleeps, where we as a collective, small business owners, in particular martial arts school owners, we're just trying to figure out this thing called life, right? I say it all the time. I just want to take care of my family, save for my retirement, um, take care of my team, impact the communities we serve, and live a life of value. And I can't tell you what that means for you, but that's what it means for me. And so things like our podcast, Success Never Sleeps, things like our group, The Disruptors, and the different things we're trying to cultivate is to definitely help the small school owner, right? You're the one who needs the most help, right? The position I sit in the 1% of our industry. So financially, we're comfortable, but you're trying to make rent. You're trying to pay electricity. You're trying to do so many things that shouldn't be that challenging, yet they are in the beginning. That's just the way it is. And if I live from a fixed mindset, I don't make any changes, that continues to be a challenge year in and year out, decade after decade. You with me? So that's our commitment with Success Never Sleeps. And it begins with our great sponsors who allow us to do what we do, right? So I'm going to thank Tusaw, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All services we use in our businesses, all people that I believe in. And I said this the other day to a guy, I just love sharing life with people that inspire me, that people I care about, people that care about me. I think that's real important. And all of these companies do that and more for myself and so many other martial arts school owners in the industry. What's coming up? It's Time Life Freedom. That's our 4-day event in October. You deserve this event. You are your best investment. And spending 4 days with us, I think, is what makes this event special. I've gone to the 2-day seminars. I've spoken at them. I've dealt with the raw, sitting in the big rooms, eating good in Vegas and doing those things, and then coming back to my school and doing nothing. Because the fundamental challenge of my mindset to begin with, needs to be addressed. And when I can tie a new mindset with systems and staff development and branding and social media and wealth building and networking in a good environment, not the glitz and glam of Vegas, but walking on a trail in nature and sitting in small groups, having dinner, that's the difference. That's the difference. And you deserve that. So make that investment now. Mark will pop it, the link in the comments there, and get signed up. Get signed up. Be there. Don't hesitate. Only 20 spots, 20 school owners. It is our 9th year offering this event, and I'm very proud of the discipline that goes into it. Right? We could grow it. We could grow it to 300-400 people and do a bigger event in a hotel. That is not the purpose of It's Time Live. And this event, named Freedom, is just that. It's about your freedom. So spend 4 days with us. Do what you got to do. Close your school. Take a vacation. Get a loan. Do what you got to do, but don't miss out. Cool. All right. Our mentoring program, I love these guys, Marco and Jason and Miss Monique, and we're all finding our voice collectively. And it's a unique environment because, again, much like the one-off seminar, you don't want to sit there and work with a consultant for one issue. You need somebody with you 24/7, 365 in your back pocket, right? That lead car, somebody to set the pace, somebody to keep you accountable, somebody to push the boundaries, right? And I think that's what makes what the four of us do collectively extremely unique. And we are you. We are the school owner. We do teach. We are active. So we don't hypothesize about what we did 20 years ago when we owned a school successfully. Real time. We're making choices and decisions every day that can impact and help our schools. And we want to give that to you. Cool. So what is it all about? When I decided to resurrect, from my presentation, the art of selling without selling, right? The art of selling without selling. I kind of got it because I love the movie Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. And I remember they're taking the boat to Hans Island. And I guess the Dutch guy or the Dutch fighter said to Bruce Lee, "What is your style?" And Bruce Lee looked at him and said, "It's the art of fighting without fighting." Yeah. So think about that for a moment. When I talk to you about the art of selling without selling, I'm not saying we don't sell. We sell all the time. We just don't sell in the traditional sense. And we don't sell purely from a closing mindset, closing the deal. We don't sell strictly based upon numbers and cents. And I think that's what makes this very unique. And why do I say that to you? Well, stop for a moment and ask yourself, One simple question. Do you like selling? Go. Put it in the comments. And as you come aboard, say hello. I'd love to say hi to you. Bob Poole, as always, love you, sir. Goals Martial Arts. You know, I know a lot of people watch the recording, but there's something really special about the people that choose to share this hour with me once a week. And Bob, you're one of those people I count on. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I count on Bob to be here. And I hope you come out in November, Bob. I think that'd be really cool. So ask yourself that question. Do you like to sell? And I would believe the majority of you sitting here right now or watching this later would tell me, no, I don't like selling. I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't like selling. I'm terrible at selling, right? And I know successful people are just willing to do what unsuccessful people are not, but it is not in my DNA. I say this all the time. If you want an elephant to fail, ask him to climb a tree. To me, I'm the elephant. That tree is selling. It is not what I do, and I don't want to. I remember the first time, because in the beginning, of course, being green, I didn't know. So, I went to all of these seminars, and one of them I went to. I share this story passionately. I, was one of the bigger gurus in the time out of Colorado or Denver. Not sure where he's from. Um, and I sat in his seminar, and the first thing he did was hold up his key ring like this. And he said to the audience, "What do you see?" And my reply was keys. And he says, "No, no, no, no. What do you see?" I said, "Keys." He goes, "No, what you see is a Porsche key ring, right?" And then he looked at his social media posts, pictures of him in his cars. And if that's his version of success, right on, rock and roll. That's your gig, right? But for me, it just didn't resonate. Now, that's more of a salesman mindset, right? If you do what I say, you can have the Porsche. Okay, that's very strict sales strategy, and I get it. It works. It does work. I'm not saying selling doesn't work that way. It doesn't work for me. So, if you don't like selling, but we do understand, hey Karth, what's happening, Karth? Good to have you here. We do understand that we do need to get new students. We absolutely need to get new students, right? So I don't market one way to 70 people. I market 70 ways to 70 people. Then I really said, if I'm not going to sell, and we've heard this all the time in the martial arts industry, you're a black belt factory, right? You nickel and dime people. Because if you're going to sit there and upgrade me and have an enrollment fee and a cancellation fee and all these other things that just add up to me spending more money beyond what I originally believed was the amount I was going to pay you, say hypothetically 199, add in the enrollment, add in, the equipment fees and all that stuff. All of a sudden, I'm paying you $400 or $500. It's just not cool. I don't like it. And I sat in there and I listened to that. And halfway through, I guess that person could see I was disgruntled by my body language and my physiognomy, the look on my face. And he said to me, "Sir, how many students do you have?" And at the time, I had 350. And he said, "Well, what sales scripts do you use? What upgrade programs do you have in place? Black Belt Club? Do you have an accumulated belt testing fee? All the way. So it's $500 by the time you get to Black Belt." And I looked at him, I said, "Sir, I don't have any of those things." And he was almost bewildered. So the only reply he could offer me in that moment is, "You really must love what you do." And I knew I was onto something because I know how much you love the martial arts. How do I know that? Well, you chose to earn a black belt. You chose to become an instructor. You chose to become a small business owner, a martial arts school owner. You chose to make this your career in life. So you must love what you do, right? So then it became, well, I love what I do, but that is not the path I want to take. I don't want to study sales scripts. I don't want to have, no means maybe and maybe means yes. I don't want to have, how do I just, overcome the obstacles and close the deal. None of it resonated with me at any level, a heart level, a physical level, anyway. But I said, I truly believe if I love what I do, I should make a lot of money doing this. You with me? I should make a lot of money doing this. So, how do I do that? Well, that's where things become complicated. It does, because we all know If you look at social media, look at all the digital marketers, they do the same thing. I promise you 30 students in 30 days. You won't pay us a cent. That's the thing, right? I'll scale you from 0 to 20,000 a month. They all say it and even guarantee it. And that's a lie. You can't guarantee that. You can't. You simply cannot because you haven't worked with me. So how can you guarantee me? You're going to get me X amount of students. You're going to do ABC. You haven't done a demographic study. You don't know if I teach crappy classes. You don't know anything about me. Yet you're going to put it as a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad that you guarantee this. That to me is what's appalling. That's to me is what makes what we do extremely hard, right? So I knew that much. I didn't want to be the slimy used car salesman. And we hear that all the time because the used car salesman, their tactics are probably some of the worst, right? They simply are. Um, so I said, okay, well, I really love what I do. So how am I going to get new students, right? Because I got to get new students because students are going to quit. And if I'm going to grow this school, then I have to get new students and keep the majority of them, right? Because we all know 10 new students in, 10 new students out, we're net zero every month. And a lot of people flatline like that. And that goes on for decades. I speak to many school owners that are at 100 students today, they're at 100 students 10 years ago, right? And it's I don't think it's complacent. I just think they haven't figured out or stuck to one thing and been disciplined. Spoke to a guy the other day. He flips flops like hot pancakes on a griddle, right? He just flips and flops from one sales guy to this guy's methods and that guy's methods. And so it came back, okay, I love what I do. Why? It was that purpose thing, that why. And that sent me down the rabbit hole of studying Apple and studying companies like Disney and studying companies like Nike, who, especially Apple, had very, very little advertising at that time. Yet, people would stand in line all night long for an iPhone. So I'm going, okay. And at that time, remember, there wasn't much social media. Internet was still relatively new when I opened in the year 2000, right? That was the dot-com bust. So there wasn't a lot of that type of instant gratification sales. I can open up Facebook right now and run an ad and instantly have a dopamine drop of, yeah, I ran an ad. Come on, open the doors. The students are going to come running in. And that's not the case. But I think that is the challenge with the whole digital media platform in general is everybody can get a fix. I can go down, open my phone right now and start watching reels and just get a fix of this, a fix of that, a fix of this, a fix of that, whatever feeds into my imbalance because that's how it's designed. So stay with me now on this though. So now I see people running digital media, running ads, and then being so depressed after when they don't get the results, right? Instant gratification. I took action. I ran an ad. Downfall is boom. When I don't get the results, I crash hard. And I've spoken to many school owners like that. Many, many. So stay with me because it's the art of selling without selling. So I knew I loved what I did. And I started studying Apple. I found that very fascinating that their advertising was very minimal. I think it's even that way today. I don't turn on many channels where I'll see an Apple commercial. I simply don't, right? You don't. And I think that's fascinating. And I pick up my phone and the Apple logo is the smallest thing on my phone. You walk into their store and you don't see a big giant sign that says Apple. It's a white building with a little silver apple sitting there up against the wall. And that fascinated me. I was very attracted to that. So I took a standard, I keep these quite actively and I keep one of these, and I have several of these for Apple. And I went into the Apple store and I said, "Please, do you mind if I sit here?" And I just want to record things and write things about your behaviors. And they said, "Sure, we don't care," because they're a bunch of college kids, teenagers, and they, knew I wasn't poaching or trying to get information for some competitor of theirs, right? And I just watched the energy and the flow, and there was no heavy salesmanship. There was no upgrade, buy the warranty, add this on, get a case for your iPad. There was none of that. But what I did see was a real respect. Write this down. What I saw was a real respect for the consumer. Okay? I saw real respect for the consumer. Write it down. And hey, if you're coming aboard, say hello, tell us you're here, and I'd love to know who I'm hanging out with. So I saw that. Whether it was the blue hair old lady trying to figure out how to do something on her iPhone, or the Genius Bar where a group of People were sitting there learning how to use their MacBook Pro or the iMac at the time. Or if it was kids just sitting there, hanging on the iPads playing games. Nobody was pressured to do anything other than to be in this culture. And nobody looked unhappy in this culture. And that's what fascinated me. Blue hair old lady getting tutoring on her phone, happy. Kid over there gaming, happy. Right? This guy over here trying to buy an iPad, happy. And that was very attractive to me. I really, really enjoyed that. Now, continue with that thought. So, if you looked around your classes today, is everybody happy? Not just the students on the mat. Are your instructors happy? Are everybody sitting in the audience happy? Right? Are you happy? So I knew I didn't like selling. Didn't want, hey, Bao, my friend Bao, how are you, sir? Happy summer. I tell you, I'll never forget the time you and I shared Harvard together and we had that great bowl of ramen together. Such a good man, Bao. Yeah, killer memory. Killer memory, sir. And so, you know, I said, okay, well, this might be a unicorn, right? Apple might be a unicorn. So then Disney was another one on my radar, right? I like Disney. I love every one of the movies. The theme parks I hadn't really been to a lot yet because I didn't have kids. And before that, I couldn't afford to go. And that's the honest truth. But I started studying Disney too once I started having kids and going frequently. And the first thing that fascinated me was when I was in Disneyland and I saw an elderly couple and they had mouse ears on and they were running around the park happy as kids. And I looked around and there were no grandkids, there were no kids anywhere. It was just these two older people in their 70s, probably at the time, with their mouse ears, enjoying Disneyland. And so then I played that one out, right? I played that one out. I assumed they went to Disneyland as kids. They probably went to Disneyland as teenagers. They probably went to Disneyland, as college students. They probably met the significant other, got married, might have been a gap, had kids, and they went to Disneyland again. And then they went to kids as they got older. They went with their grandkids. And here they are, still at Disneyland again, trying one more time, to capture that memory, that memorable experience. So I call it the Disney experience. The key to the art of selling without selling is rooted in two things for me. Well, several, but these are the key points. One, have something you believe in, not with ego, not with narcissism and insecurity. I mean, a true belief in the product you're offering, your martial arts instruction, the life skills, the school that you present, the culture you create, all those things you have to believe in. Write that down. Because if you don't, then you sell. And you sell from based upon numbers and closings and quotas and bonuses. And the reason that is not sustainable is look at anyone who's ever sold you something. Go back 3 months later. That salesperson is gone. Gone, gone, gone. Right? Because it's volatile. It's very unstable for me as a human being to live from bonus to bonus, to live with the pressure of making numbers. And if I don't make my numbers, then I get my crappy hourly wage and there's nothing left and I can't pay rent. I've never seen a salesman stay in one company decade after decade after decade after decade. I haven't. I've never seen that. Never, 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 ever, ever. So think about that for a moment. Sales is very fear based. Sales is very manipulative. And so if somebody buys from you that way, it's transactional. Okay. But if somebody believes in what you do, a la Apple, they believe in what you do, that couple at Disney elderly trying to get that memory one more time, they become a loyal customer. A loyal customer, right? A loyal customer. So if you believe that as much as I do, then you forego the fear-based selling to try to make rent. And I know that's a big one. I know that's a big one. And, when I opened San Francisco, I didn't know my head from my behind. So I did so many different things. Oh God. Once there's a major department store called Nordstrom's. And I kid you not, I was sitting in the athletic department for women, with athletic clothing on a riser, right? 2 foot high riser with two of my kickboxing instructors. And we did Taibo classes. It was the weirdest thing. We're doing our Taibo moves, and we're not trying to get people to work out. We're just demonstrating and doing these moves, right? And there's people literally 3 feet away buying sports bras. So believe me, I've done everything, no, everything. And that was one of the funniest stories. Um, so with that said, I knew if people believed in what we do as much as I did, then I wouldn't have to sell anything. So then it became about, okay, well, let's look deeper at Disney. Let's look deeper at Apple. I understood you needed to be a purpose driven company. That's a no brainer, right? We hear that a lot, almost to the point where it's trendy. And that's the problem. All these digital media people who have no real experience in life, look at them. They're all about 10 years old. Look at every digital marketer out there. Tell me any of them are above 30. None. Yet they've got the right language, the right script. They're slick. They say the right things because, it's just simply trend based. There's nothing of substance whatsoever. Whatsoever. And as we celebrate 25 years in San Francisco, 10 years in Millbrae, I've owned small businesses for 35, 40 years now, different ones. But I understand when someone opens their mouth, if they can speak the truth, if they can speak in a way that isn't fake and AI and chat GPT, you don't have to sell anything. So, in today's world, don't hesitate to take out your phone and record a parent's testimonial and post it at social media. Don't be afraid to post with the class going on behind you, saying, "Hey, folks, it's summertime. And did you know kids lose 2 months of learning during the summer? We're right here to stop the summer slide. Come down to One Martial Arts, take a free class." There's nothing the matter with that today. They're even encouraging it because it's more organic. And in my work with Kin Creative, that is the new trend. Get away from overproduced stuff, right? That looks really slick. Get away from something that's too scripted. Be more, organic. As we've said from day one, be authentic, be authentic, be authentic, be transparent. That is where that comes from. And if you have a strong purpose like Disney and Apple, that is one powerful thing that you can do, right? There's a lot of ways to be successful. I saw a guy the other day and he talked about breaking people's faces and, it's a world of violence. And if you're not prepared for it, then you're a sheep going to slaughter. But you know what? That dude was convincing as heck because that's what he truly believes. He's got to find an audience to sell it to, but nonetheless. So Apple and Disney, Apple and Disney, Apple and Disney. The second part of that became values, right? I don't like sitting there in my uniform, right? I've worn uniforms since I was 4 or 5 and sell somebody. I've done it. I've sat behind the desk, had the little sales script memorized, opened it up and went through my song and dance like a good timeshare person, right? And it never felt right. I felt horrible. It wasn't me. I was the elephant trying to climb the tree. So more and more I define to us, ours is live your best life, right? You know that. I say at the end of the show, I say it in all of my brochures, anything that I post social media for our schools. My whole purpose in life is to live my best life. So whether it's One Martial Arts, Kids Love Life Skills, It's Time Consulting, everything I do is to fulfill my brand promise, which is my own values, is to live your best life. So you call the school, we answer the phone. Live your best life at One Martial Arts. Brandon speaking. You walk in the front door. How you doing today, Johnny? You ready to live your best life? We finish the class and we bow it out. What are you going to go out there and do? Everybody shouts, live your best life. Because Apple taught me, once you know that why, you live it, you teach it, you preach it. Write that down. You live it, you teach it, you preach it, right? I can't sell fitness for me personally if I'm not healthy and strong, right? I need to walk my talk. Okay. Um, we are called One Martial Arts. That was the brand, just like Nike by itself. What is Nike? Right? What is Nike? But you have to just do it, and then you have a clear brand and the purpose behind the brand. People who are Nike are doers, action takers, right? You with me? Apple in the beginning was think different. People who used Apple products thought different, thought different, thought different. Okay. And that was their whole mantra. So once I know that, I can live it, I can teach it, I can preach it. That is huge when you talk about the art of selling without selling, because I'm not selling you anything. I'm living by example. I'm teaching by example, live your best life. And I preach. I preach. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple the second time, he brought a guy with him named Guy Kawasaki. Look up Guy Kawasaki and his history with Apple. That's when they coined Chief Evangelist Officer. Every Fortune 500 company has somebody like that today. And their purpose is to live, teach, and preach the purpose and why of Apple or whatever company that they're the SEO of. You with me? The CEO. So think about that too. And again, it gives us a very clear place to operate from, whether it's writing a system, right? Whether it's staff development, whether it's developing a game for camp, whether it's making a in-house flyer. Everything is centered around live your best life. We have brand colors, red, black, and white. We try to stay within that with everything that we do, right? So again, it's been so powerful in setting up good guardrails to grow our companies, right? And live true to our purpose and our values and our brand promise to the community of live your best life. Disney does it, Apple does it, Nike does it, Google does it, everybody does it. It's not anything, I'm cultivating. It's something that resonates with my heart. So ask yourself that question. Do you have a brand like that? And don't think you can't be an Apple, because that's simply not true. You can be an Apple with one location. You can be a Disney with one location, right? You absolutely can. You absolutely can. And if you're coming aboard, all the new people, say hello. I love to see people here like Karth and Bao and Bob. And if you're sitting there in the background, step up and be counted, as I often like to say. Cool. So we're very clear about that. We got the why. It's established. Now, here's my story. I remember when a Korean master came and said, I want to study you for a couple of days. I said, absolutely. I mean, people come from Switzerland, Germany, Canada, Australia, all over the world to study what we do because it is very disruptive. In the world of contracts, accumulated belt testing fees, upgrades, black belt clubs, master clubs, built-in equipment fees, all those things, we don't do any of them. Any of them? Any of them. No belt testing fees, no black belt club, no upgrades. If you spar, you got to buy equipment. But other than that, none of it. No cancellation fee, no enrollment fee. We do none of it. None of it. And I think that's what hurts your school so much is that you're constantly flipping and flopping with whatever trend is happening, right? Whatever trend's going on, you're on that bus. The problem is by the time you get it integrated into your school, the trend is gone and we're on to something else. Right. So I'm very big on understanding what my value system is, what my why is, working in that guardrails and constantly refining and defining it and making changes within that, going deeper. Right. I don't want to be a bigger company. I want to be a better company. And through being a better company, we cultivate 2 schools into $2 million a year. Right. Or I could have 5 or 6 of them and generate the same type of money. Right. It doesn't matter how you slice or dice it. The bottom line, $2 million over 2 locations is a good number. Right. Simply is at about a 35% net. So I understand that. I understand that. And to show you the power of that brand, I really learned it during the pandemic. We went from 1,000 students to 750 overnight. Within a week, we're running 750 people online. Once that happened, they followed us into parking lots. Once that happened, they came back in, limited, people in classes, all the way back to where we are today. I watched schools drop like flies during the pandemic, closing, closing, closing. Why? Because if I have to make a choice to follow you online or not, and the only thing we've been relating to is a contract that you put in front of me every 6 months or another fee that needs to be accumulated, then I don't think the relationship has much strength, right? At some point when we're dating, I got to start picking up the bill too, right? We can't just split the tab. Maybe in the beginning when you date somebody, right? So again, I think what's hard about offering you this philosophy of the art of selling without selling is the hardcore salespeople would say, Brandon, you're full of it. I get it. I get it. I get it. But then I lean into numbers don't lie. And we had one location, you're a unicorn. Anyone can do that in one location. It's personality driven. So we replicated it in 2. And then after 2, I really thought about 3, 4, and 5. There was money on the table to do that. And I decided, no, I want to raise kids. So I decided to invest in other things to generate a passive revenue stream, which is pure entrepreneurship at that point. Okay. But that's a different conversation. So Korean guy's there, he watches for a couple of days. And then he says, you know what? You guys sell all the time. And I went, whoa, How is that, sir? You sell when you say hello at the front door. You sell when you greet that kid, you know, ask him how his day was or his Disneyland trip or his last soccer tournament or acknowledge he got a haircut or she, and then you high five them, tie their belt. You sell them when you sit in there, they're sitting in the waiting section and you're pre-framing the class so they're successful. You sell when the music starts and they all run to a dot and you do this amazing warm-up. You sell when you deliver the life talk. You sell when each drill is so tight where every child is empowered. Every child gets to kick a pad. Every child gets one-on-one attention. You sell with the game at the end. You sell when you close the class and tell them how excited I am for your next class when you get to earn that stripe or we're starting a new one. You sell when you high five everybody walking off that mat. You sell when I hear everyone say goodbye to them as they walk out the door. That is not a sales script. That is cultivating a culture based upon a clear why. Live your best life. And then what does that mean? You write it into a system. You train the team on that system. And you deliver and execute that system consistently because it is consistency that earns trust. Write it down. Consistency earns trust. And if your message in social media, your message, because you're changing, Facebook companies every 2 weeks, is a different look, a different feel, a different message, that builds distrust. I saw one guy, he had this like slow motion commercial with smoke and lights, and it looked like freaking the Matrix and all this stuff. And his school with puzzle mats in a strip mall, 1,400 square feet. And I think the guy wore a red, white, and blue flag uniform, and he had a mullet. And I kid you not, when that happened, I went, that's a huge disconnect. How could I possibly trust that? I bring my kid here and it's just like not what you promised, right? We hear that horror story all the time with like Airbnb commercials, right? Someone books a hotel and it looks like this in the brochure. They get to the hotel and it's freaking, the pool's got algae in it. And it's funky, right? I mean, it's like that. It builds distrust. And stay with me. In the art of selling without selling, trust is the last true form of marketing. That's it. Trust is the last true form of marketing. If people trust you, they're a loyal customer. If they don't, they're going to tell every friend just how horrible you are. Yeah, and I know for the average salesperson, because it puts them in a state of defensiveness, you're just some kumbaya tree hugging. It's all hypothetical, unicorn stuff. And that's okay. That's okay. Happy to show you my tax returns. Happy to show you that. But I think the thing about it is, again, because we're fear based, and that's why digital marketers come at you with fear, right? Go from 0 to 20,000, get you 30 students in 30 days. Don't pay us a cent. There's no way they're going to sit there and tell you methodically that you need to do all these different things to cultivate a brand, in order to create a brand people trust. And then you have to deliver on that brand promise day in and day out. They don't want that. They want you for 3 months in and out, and they're on to the next set of people. That's salesmanship. Once I close the deal, I'm on to the next one. I don't think of it that way. When a student signs up, you don't close the deal. You open the door to a potential relationship of 4, 5, 6, 7 years until they go to college, right? At the minimum, they may become an instructor, right? You're not closing the deal. It's just the beginning. And if you have that type of confidence, you have that belief system, then you forego all of that fear-based stuff, right? Only 10 spots available, 72 hours, and the special's up. Sign up now and we'll waive the enrollment fee. Oh, God. If I ever associated that kind of stuff with my brand, it would be a bad day because that has nothing to do with living your best life. Put it in the comments. Tell me your thoughts. I know it can be overwhelming. So we've established a brand, live your best life, right? We know we need to live, teach, and preach it. Great. We know hello at the front door. Everything has to align and fulfill that brand promise. And to do that, we write system. So example, hello at the front door. Nobody is living their best life if they don't feel welcomed. You agree? Okay. There you go. So I remember walking into a Japanese restaurant where that happened. Everybody said hello from the front to the back. I thought it was amazing. So when you walk into our school, somebody will say hello. They will say hello. Whether it's the instructor on the floor, somebody walking around, support, at least one person will greet you. So if we're all trained to say hello, I know somebody's going to say it, right? You might be distracted teaching a class. Somebody in that room is going to say hello to you when you walk in the door. That is a system, and we practice it. It's so funny when I'm outside the door and I say, okay, everybody, I'm a 4-year-old kid walking in the school. Everybody goes, welcome to One Martial Arts. Oh, let's try that again. You all need to smile. I go out the door. I come in. Lean in. Okay, what else? Right? Appropriate touch. He's a kid. High five. Boom. Right? We practice and rehearse that. We role play that system because it is a written system to fulfill our brand promise. So why do I say all of this? Because no digital media ad is going to save you. It's not. No Google ad is going to save you. No Instagram ad is going to save you. None of it is going to save you. If I walk into your school and whatever marketing you put out there, you do not fulfill the brand promise to me. I want you to really, really think about that, folks. As we are having an amazing year, and it started back in, I don't know, February. Our camps weren't booking as much as I liked. And we were doing the Facebook ads and the Google ads and stuff at next door. And my, TJ said to me, sir, you got all that stuff going on and we're still not booking camps. Why? Because look at our stats, right? The number one way we still get new students is referrals. Same thing with camp. So he challenged me. He said, our camp isn't up to par. We haven't reviewed these systems in forever. We haven't added new games. We haven't changed the schedule. We haven't done ABC. And I went, damn, you know what? You're right, sir. You are freaking right. So we methodically gutted San Francisco and redid all the shells, bought all new stuff. I look today, oh, San Francisco's having probably one of the best camp seasons we've had in years. Okay? Millbrae, same thing. We had to let a bunch of people go, changed our staff up, brought some new people in, some new blood, new systems, new games, spent a bunch of money on stuff, and boom, numbers are up. How is that? Because what TJ reminded me of, if we're not constantly improving upon what we do, as I say all the time, here's my saying, you can have it. We constantly improve upon what we do to better serve you. But we weren't being consistent. We weren't consistently reviewing the camp systems because I don't even run camps anymore. They're ran by the teams, right? I wasn't consistent. That's my job, though, still. I'm the architect. That's my job, right? And if you have this amazing camp, as we're witnessing, because we're a premium camp at $500, people book us, they love it, they book another week, they book another week, they book another week, they book another week. That's pretty freaking cool, right? Isn't that cool? Yeah, but I know, some of the best restaurants in the world, have very minimal marketing. Yet you go and look and people are taking time out of their day to write reviews, 5-star reviews, 5-star reviews. That's pretty amazing. You didn't solicit the review, didn't do some, thing, get a free t-shirt if you leave us a review. They freaking just do good work. They serve good food. They create the Disney experience with the wait staff, the ambiance and everything. That's amazing because that's where it begins and ends, right? We make the majority of our revenue on the mat. So we tighten up those systems, right? Good. What else did we do? We ran deeper. We revamped the curriculum. We do that every 7 years, and we hadn't done it, and we were getting stagnant. And TJ reminded me of that one too, right? So I launched hard. I've been revamping the curriculum, redoing the curriculum videos, really understanding what works and what doesn't work. That's super important. Hey, Jesse, what's happened there, sir? You just come aboard, or you've been sitting back there all this time? Jesse's in Vegas. He's in Vegas. Jesse, did you buy a house or move into a house or get engaged? I know we're all congratulating when you were moving. What was that about? I just want to know. I know it's got nothing to do with today's topic. So, TJ, and the reason I like listening to TJ a lot, because there's a couple of things about TJ that I enjoy. He was a student. He was a kid, right? He came up through the ranks. He became an instructor. He has seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he's a very balanced Me Too, politically correct guy. I'm not. I'm not. If you can't play well, get the hell out of my way. So TJ is the yin to my yang. And I listen to him a lot more than I think he knows that I do. Because I think one of the greatest things I learned from Disney is Disney's one of his main philosophies when somebody would ask him a question or was in any kind of, meeting, he would ask the question, what do you think? What do you think? And I think what that does, number one, it empowers your team. Number two, if you follow up and implement it, it shows that it's not just lip service. And three, you create a sense of leadership, right? That is necessary unless you want to work there 80 hours a week. Yeah, that type of ownership is important. And I posted that. You own a martial arts business, right? Own it. Own it. And I think that's why we became stagnant in our camps. And, it's nothing I don't know to do, right? Just like John Lennon said, life is something that happens while you're busy making other plans. But the hard pivot, right? I've really put a lot of effort into camp. I rewrote the games thing. I rewrote, the orientation script. And when they come in, I rewrote a bunch of stuff. And I just, it's like spring cleaning. And that alone has just created this inertia. And our camps are better attended. Our camps were up bookings. Last year we were around 70. Right now we're closer to 80, 85% fully booked. I want to get to 100 before the summer's over. And it's not over yet, which is really neat. I still see the leads coming in through Market Muscles and through our Facebook ads. So people are still looking for camp, which is not unheard of where we're at, right? Kid's been home for 4 weeks now, getting kind of tired of it. You booked your kid for 5 weeks of soccer camp. You need a week to fill. There's one martial arts right there. So again, being mindful of that, to constantly upgrade your systems, constantly upgrade your team, your staff development, constantly. And we'll continue to do that. I still have more curriculum to revamp. I have to write out our sparring curriculum so it's consistent. There's a lot of things. It never stops. Miss Monique from our It's Time Group Mentoring said that you and Terry Lee run at 1,000,000 miles an hour. We do. I'm 63 and there's no reason to retire. I love what I do. Retirement's for people who hate their life. And that's where you see those freaking things. You work 40 years just to have 10 good years of life. Every day's a good day, right? Every day's a good day because I do what I love and I live from purpose. You with me? So, that consistent discipline of upgrading your facility, new mats, new pads. We just did that. Oh, I didn't even add that in. And, Century had this great thing. And I know Tussauds my main sponsor, and I buy 90% of what I do from Tussauds, but Century had like a legend discount or something for their longtime, clients. So I got like 20% off customized products I don't normally get. So we got hand targets and we got forearm shields, and I saved a lot of money. So we replaced all of those. And what did we do culturally? We gave away the old ones to everybody. Didn't sell them for $5. We just gave them away. See, so all these different things, right, that you do internally to get people to become raving fans. Because once they become raving fans, they sell for you. See, you think you have to sell. No, the art of selling without selling is creating an environment that people love. That people what? Love. And when they love it, it's amazing. I had a dad in last night for kickboxing, right? And you could tell he's working a little hard. You could tell he's out of shape, and he took advantage of the dad and me. Again, retention 101, the dad and me party, the mom and me party. We gave every person in our school not enrolled in a program that was a mom or a dad 1 free month. And it's good until January 1. The problem is when you offer those free things, you put a timeline on it. Don't expect me to sign up in May or June. It's summer. So those moms are busy with summer. They're not going to do kickboxing or martial arts during the summer. So leave a window until January 1st, and they'll sign up somewhere in there before January 1st and enjoy their free month. But so while this dad's working, I could tell he's a little overwhelmed. And I said, I want to applaud you, sir. Every punch you throw, every kick you throw, you're living your best life for your family. So again, tying it back to our brand promise, being real with this guy. He has one daughter in our program. His wife is doing the free month of kickboxing, and they have a little girl that's like a year old. So this family's with us. They're part of our OMA family. But to make a very personal statement like that to him, just boom. He hit that bag harder. He kicked a little harder, and he knew he was living his best life in that moment for his family. See, but it's not a selling thing, is it? It's a no-brainer. I'm just simply living, teaching, and preaching our brand promise of live your best life. That's it. And if you can do that, your 70-year-old instructor will make some bonehead comment in the middle of the class. If it's ingrained in their brain, and I watch TJ, I think he's him and his brother Lucas are the epitomes of live your best life. I watch the way they flow. I watch the way they teach. Sometimes I'm in awe. And a great teacher makes sure the student is better than they. TJ and Lucas do things way better than I do in many arenas. And I sit I take notes. I take note, but it's all rooted in what? Live your best life. So it's not like they're doing these random things that are fear and ego based. No, we live, teach, and preach a brand of live your best life. And TJ has called me out on it. Sir, is that helping us live our best life? Or I'm doing this because it helps us, the team live their best life. You're freaking right, Teach. What am I going to say to that? And I love it. It's taken on this life of our own. So again, going back to the Korean master, right? The art of selling without selling. He was just enthralled. He was just really enthralled that everything we did sold, right? But then he understood what he meant by that was all you do is fulfill your brand promise of live your best life. You live it, you teach it, you preach it. It's amazing. And it's not hard to do that because we all believe. You see, that's the thing about it is when you believe, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. And on the back end, are we extremely profitable business? I think so. I think so because data doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. And so some of the very extreme unorthodox things we do is we have no bonuses in our company. Nobody lives with this low salary and then works on bonuses each month. We don't have meetings where we discuss how many new students we need to get this month. That's a sales meeting. We've never done that. Me and TJ talk numbers, but I would never stand before my team and tell them we need 20 more students this month. Never, ever, never, ever, ever. It's a sales pressure mentality that you put on your team, right? Got to make our third quarterly numbers. That sucks. Nobody's living their best life. And again, the art of selling without selling means you have to forego all of the sales scripts. You have to forego all of those type of, I'm going to call them anti-traditional at this point in my life, methods of recruiting new students, right? Cotton candy machine. That is not salesmanship. That's serving the community. And when you see us at Movie in the Park, when you see us at this, art and wine festival coming up, when you see us do those things, that is promoting culture. That is sharing the values of what you do. That is not salesmanship. But the mentality, someone said, what is your ROI on the cotton candy? I looked at him and said, I want to tell me you're an idiot. That's a stupid sales question you probably, got off the internet. Tell me what you believe in. Do you think it's great to give free cotton candy to kids? Well, yeah, I kind of guess so. You might be giving them diabetes. I didn't ask you that question. You're a kid. You're 5. Is it a good day? Yeah. But we make it on the spot and customize it. Parent says, give me a little one. We give you a little one, right? Because we're all about service. Service. And I said that at one point. It's one of the things I coined. Service is the new profit. Write it down. Service is the new profit. Oh, Jesse was continuing that conversation. What did Jesse say about the house? Too kind. So, Nicole and I leveled up from a condo into a 1-story house. Good for you, sir. Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations again on that, sir. And see, I think the reason people lean back is because they get afraid. So they just simply answer some sales marketer and take some sales tactics. And I watch school owners do that all the time. And 3 months later, they tell me it doesn't work anymore because it's not sustainable. It might work for a couple months, right? Just like instant gratification always works. And here's an extreme, a drug addict, right? That first high is the best high. They're high. And then all they do is try to chase that high. And it never, ever, ever can be as good as the first time. So they do more and more and more. They get addicted. Their lives become horrible. And the band played on. It's the same thing here. I watch school owners because they're not clear, on their art, on their why, on their purpose, jump from sales guy to sales guy to sales guy to sales guy, seminar to seminar, guru to guru, and it's such a vicious cycle. So vicious. When if they would do the real work that I'm suggesting here, as I've always suggested, that I learned with Apple and Disney, and I worked with a Nike guy for 6 months. Paid that guy a lot of money to teach me these things. And if they would forego that and have enough security in that type of vision, you'd be amazed what can happen with your school. But if you're in a constant state of fear, you're always going to lean into the low hanging fruit. Sales script, pressure sales. No means maybe, and maybe means yes. I get it. I get it. It's fed to you every day on the internet. Go look. I'm sure you get them in your feed every day, and they come and they go. They come and they go. They come and they go. Right? Am I right? And you see them all the time. And I know, being an outlier, being a disruptor, I'll continue to get pushback from the majority of those type of people. They don't like it because I pull back the covers and say, your way is not the only way. There are other ways. There simply are. We climb to the top of a tree. I guarantee you none of us are going to climb it the same way. We're all going to get to the top though, right? So again, understanding for you what that means, I think is very, very important as a base to operate from. If it's not filled with ego, it's not filled with insecurity, it's not filled with fear, then the potential is unlimited. Unlimited. And when you tell me that won't work here, I tried it, then you suffer from a fixed mindset. And because of your failures, you live in this state of disappointment, this state of insecurity and fear, that your only logical, rational answer when somebody presents a solution to you is, that does not work here. I tried it. Okay. And see, all of that feeds into the art of selling without selling. All of it. Everything I've shared with you in the past hour all centers around the culture and purpose and the why, and creating systems to fulfill that. And through that, the number one source, referrals, is enhanced. It's augmented. Why? Because you created this tribe of raving fans that believe in what you do. And they go out there and gratefully will sell for you. Now, if you have a good referral system in place, and that's a big one, you need a referral system. But most school owners I speak to, they say they have one, but they don't consistently promote it. That I don't know why. So write this down. New student signs up, their third or fourth email, let them know. If they refer somebody that signs up for a membership, or as we say, tuition investment in our school, we would give you $50 off next month's tuition. It's a work because they stay another month, they get $50 off next month, and it's a good day. It's on a flyer that hangs in the school. It's in our e-newsletter, and it goes out in texts. You need to be consistent with that. And most people I talk to, yeah, I kind of got a referral. Oh, then you don't have a referral system. Kinda, you kind of, and you kind of promote it, right? So we know that referrals are the number one way to get our business. It's still the biggest chunk of my business after all these years. Hey, Ralph. What's up, Ralph, sir? Excellent martial arts all the way in Switzerland. Ask Ralph. I mean, Ralph is one of my greatest examples of a purpose-driven company, right? Talk to Ralph. I think he was 68 when he started with me. He's 210 now, somewhere in the 200s. And he loves martial arts. He loves to teach. He loves what he does. He wrote the systems. He wrote the rotating curriculum. We created a brand, and that had nothing to do with selling, right? It sells itself. And that is the hierarchy. That is the highest point of the art of selling without selling. When something sells itself, oh, that's magic. That's where, that thing starts happening that I'm so, so, so proud of. And I hope today I was able to share that with you in a big way. All right. Put it in the comments. What did you get out of today? Do watch this one a bunch of times. Not once, not twice. Watch this a lot. No, watch this a lot. Watch this a lot. Cool? Watch it a lot. Watch it a lot. People will dismiss this thinking because they say, I'm not Apple, I'm not Nike, I'm not Disney. Okay. But if we behaved even a little bit like them, do we have a better chance of being profitable? I would think so. right? Disney's what? A $1 billion-trillion industry. Nike's a $1 billion-trillion industry. Apple is a $1 trillion company, right? I mean, if we even utilize some of their cultural behaviors or customer service strategies, I think we have a better chance of being profitable than listening to some guru that sits in a glass house that hasn't owned a school really in decades. But you don't know what you don't know. Cool? So let's begin by thanking our sponsors today. Of course, to Saw, Market Muscles, my studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, King Creative, all companies I love, all people I love, all people I work with that have impacted my business, and many, 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 many school owners around the world have benefited from their services. Please set up a discovery call with any of us, look into them, feel free to DM me, and I'll be happy to connect you with the right people. Cool? All right, it's Time Life Freedom. We have that coming up in November 8th through 11th. I'm going to offer a small discount, $199 off the 4-day experience. We're going to post it today in the feed somewhere. Look for it. Ask anyone. Ralph spent 4 days with us. Again, the proof is in the pudding. Ralph was at 68, I believe. He's at 210 now. Ralph spent 4 days with us. There. I mean, that's data. Ask Ralph. Reach out to Ralph from Excellent Martial Arts, and he'll tell you all about It's Time Live. This one is named So Freedom because you deserve the freedom that comes with the vehicle of money, and that money is earned through running a values-based business. And I believe that if you can do that, things are just amazing. Sal, I didn't know you were there. Sal, how you doing, sir? And then, of course, our mentoring program, we're happy to do a discovery call with Marco, Monique, or Jason, or me. Check it out. Hop on it. What's an hour of your time? Doesn't cost you anything. I'm very proud. We're finally starting to get the maturity that I've been looking for. And after doing it, we've been together about a year now, maybe coming on a year and a half. We're really, really earning the confidence that comes with the experience of doing it to offer you something unique. We're not consultants. We're mentors. Mentors are in your back pocket 24/7, 365. And our purpose is just that, to help you every step of the way, consistently, not one off, and then we don't talk to you for a year and see you at some seminar. Cool? Schedule a discovery call now. So I want to thank, Marco, as always, for holding down the back end. Selling is not a bad word. To be able to sell without having to sell is a good day. I hate selling. It's not me. I'm not going to look at a sales script. I'm not going to sit you in an office. I'm not going to sit there and look at you as a number. It's just not what I do. And again, if I want an elephant to fail, make him climb a tree. Make him climb a tree, right? I don't like selling. I will never like selling. It's not my thing. So I found another way. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. That's the beauty of, successful small business, is we understand there's not just one way. And when this guy was, looking at me like, you're nuts. You don't use sales scripts, black belt clubs, upgrades, and all that, right? And he was almost like putting me down for not doing it his way. I just looked at him like, you're nuts. You can't tell me that your way is the only way. It's insane. That's silly. If you believe one guy's way is the only way to be successful, then, I've got some swampland in Florida I can sell you. Cool? If you want to find me, our podcast is everywhere on all the major platforms. You can find us at Apple, iHeart, YouTube, of course, Spotify, Amazon, all the different ones, Stitcher. Subscribe to Success Never Sleeps. We've been on for like 10 years now, and you could sit there and watch those episodes, and people have been wildly successful just watching our episode after episode after episode, taking what they need, discarding the rest. You need to do that. Please, that information is there because I believe I can only keep what I have by giving it away. So I make a point to do that as well. And the byproduct is I've done very well in my consulting over the years, right? Pay it forward. Be mindful of that. Cool. All righty, folks. Great show today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I love you. I appreciate you very much. Share this. Spread the word. I think school owners all over the world need our support, especially the small school owner, with 75 to 100 students trying to break through. And when I see great success like Ralph running at 210, that's a good day. And I'll always use Ralph as my poster boy for success because I'm happy for him, and it lets me know that I'm doing good work. Cool? I'm Brandon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, what are you going to go out there and do? Live your best life.